Good morning. Welcome to the original Loretta Brown Show, radio to open the heart, heal the soul, and awaken the consciousness. Good morning, Mr. Benny Mathers.
Hello, hello, hello.
I got to do it on air. Benny, he's my man.
Oh my
Benny
God.
can't do it. Nobody can. Woohoo!
Thank you. I got my little cheerleader up in here. You see some of those pom-poms.
I do. Woohoo! Go team, go.
It'll go perfectly with our Hawks game this weekend. You know, big game on Saturday. Big game.
Yeah, we just try to get in the mood, right? You know,
I'm always in the mood, right?
Yeah. Are you one of these people? Do you watch it in person or do you watch it on TV? What do you do?
Yeah, I try to do both. We actually have a kind of a fairly busy weekend. And this game coming up wasn't released until, or the time wasn't released in the day after other games earlier in the week. So we had already pre-planned some post-birthday activities for myself and my fiance's dad and my boys, because we all have birthdays around like the same week. So
you guys are all Capricorn.
Yep, we're a house of Caps.
Yep.
And so we've decided to do some bowling on Saturday, and we scheduled the time, which was around 3:00, which is just before the game. Yeah, I mean, we just had to pick a time, you know, so we'll probably watch or have it recorded. So I can't look at my phone.
I was just going to say, how are you going to, you know, because I'd be like,
right.
You know,
it's going to be tough. But here's the other kicker. They'll probably have it on at the bowling alley. So that's gonna be
I'm sure they will. Yeah,
I know.
And of course they will.
I guess we'll have to watch it at some point. So it doesn't really matter. But good luck to the Seahawks, and it's a trilogy against the San Francisco 49ers divisional game, big game, and if they have to win out, and then they'll go to the Super Bowl. This is going to be fantastic for Seattle fans. So let's go Hawks.
Well, you know, and I may have told people this before. You're like, I don't know if this is cheating. I think it's okay. I always send Reiki to the Hawks.
That's very nice. Very sweet of you. And I think it helps. It does.
Yeah.
Very...
And to anybody listening and anybody that needs it, just, you know, just put your little intention out there.
They're a very spiritual bunch, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, they are.
Cool. Well, thank you.
They actually are. Yeah. Thank you for that. That was so fun.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Anyway, I am Loretta Brown. I'm the owner of Reiki Oasis, located Reiki Oasis. That is.
Where are we at?
Right here.
Right.
Well, you know, people go, "What is that? Is that Reiki? Reiki? It's Reiki."
Yeah.
And I've done Reiki for 30 years, so I'm an old school girl and old timer, and I love my job. There's always something going on over at Reiki Oasis, and of course, there's so much more because, you know, I do all kinds of. I'm actually a mental health counselor for the state of Washington. Who knew, right? I'm a spiritual counselor and a channel and hypnotherapist and a sound healer, and we do gongs and we do crystal bowls, and we have a really good time over there. So
Did you say gong?
I did say
All you gotta do is ask.
My daughter loves that when you do that.
I bet she does. It probably woke her right up.
I love that. Thank you so much. Yes, the gong.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
The gong. Something about it.
Yeah, it's really good. I love it. I'm like, control yourself. You know, I almost posted a meme this morning where it shows like your spirit guide standing next to you, and it says, "This is what my spirit guides are like when they stand next to me." And one of them's got their hand over my mouth.
Oh, it's like they hear no evil, see no evil.
They're like, yeah.
The three.
Anyway, I hope that makes people laugh. I hope they can relate to it. But now I forgot what I was even talking about. I was talking about Reiki Oasis. Yeah, you can find out more about me at ReikiOasis.com. My monthly class for women, the Temple of the Divine Feminine, will be next Saturday, January 24th. And will not be conflicting with the game. So hopefully people can either come in person or join us via Zoom. And yes, I do have a gong bath.
Wait, you take a bath with gongs? What? I'm gonna have to ask about this one later.
Totally. Okay. Thanks. It's a healing sound bath with gongs.
Okay. All right. Just
on January 31st at 10 a.m. In fact, I do a healing gong bath at the end of every month. You can sign up for that at the website. And then there's crystal bowl things, and there's a new moon this weekend. Anyway, you can go find out about that there. So I'm sorry, I got the giggles or something this morning. I'll try to calm it down. I think it's because my guest is, we're going to be talking about consciousness, and I'm already like, come on, let's do it. I like this conversation. But before we do that, let me check in with astrology, because last week was Capricorn week. This week is the Chiron emphasis week, and it's really a big week. A lot of stuff going on in the news, but Chiron, the wounded healer, has been very active, reminding us that healing doesn't come from fixing ourselves, but from understanding ourselves. Big difference. There's a powerful time to gently witness old patterns, emotional triggers, and reactions, not with judgment, but with compassion. And the Chiron squares this week have been acting like sacred pressure points, surfacing what must be healed before we can truly move forward. On Sunday, we had Venus squaring Chiron, and it's been bringing up wounds around love, worth, and belonging. On Monday, January 12th, we had the Sun squaring Chiron, and that brought up identity meets tender places, who we think we are versus who we truly feel we are, which are not always the same. Tuesday, we had Mars squaring Chiron, where our drive, because Mars is like action, go get it done, but our drive meets our wounds. And so there's been a lot of anger, frustration, and old defenses surfacing. And, the work I do with people, I always go, remember when something is triggered, it's an opportunity to take a look at it and heal it or hold it or whatever it needs to be done. It's not always easy to do that, especially with anger, Mars, right? And defensiveness. Tomorrow, Friday, January 16th, Mercury is going to square Chiron, and this is where the mind meets the wound. Ooh, the mind meeting the wound means that all those old stories are going to come up, those old dusty ones. Those ones that you can't let go of with all the judgment and the pain and the hurt in them. Yep. So a reminder to my listener, this is not punishment energy. We're not being punished. It's refinement energy. The universe is helping us heal the cracks so that what we build does not collapse later. And it's important to know this because we're right in the throes of destructuring and restructuring our entire reality. Today, January 15th, we have Venus sextile Saturn and trine Uranus. This is a beautiful integration point where stability meets innovation. We can restructure relationships, values, and finances in ways that are both grounded and liberating. Chiron is asking us, where are you still trying to prove yourself? And where are you reacting from old pain instead of present truth? And on Sunday, we have a new moon in Capricorn. There's more Capricorn there for you, Benny, just letting you know.
And can never not get enough of it.
No, I can never get enough Capricorn.
Nope. You're welcome.
All my besties are Capricorns.
Yeah.
And my moon's in Capricorn. So, anyway, it's all good. Lots of Capricorn birthdays. So anyway, I got to get back to astrology, but the new moon is in Capricorn, and it invites us to plant seeds for new structures. Couldn't we use that? Not just in our outer lives, but in our inner architecture. Capricorn is asking, what are you building? What are you committed to? And what kind of future are you stabilizing into form? The new moon is not about rushing forward. It's about choosing wisely what deserves your energy. And as I mentioned before, just a reminder to people, we are in 2026. It is a numerology 1 year, a year of new beginnings, experimentation, and stepping into the unknown. But unlike impulsive beginnings, because boy, can I be impulsive. Well, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? This year is divided into 2 phases. From January to June, we have exploration, curiosity, experimentation, like what's going on? Let's look around. Let's come up with some new ideas. And then June through December, we're going to have commitment momentum, and embodiment. I'm not going to get into it, but there's actually 6 karmic cycles that are introduced this year. And they're based around things such as birthing a new dream, and establishing that dream, helping to heal our wounds, expansion, shifting from me to we, and really, in my opinion, stepping into, these are sort of catchphrases, the age of Aquarius, which is requiring group cooperation. Ooh, yeah, can we even do it? I can't wait for my guest to get on and tell us how to do it. She's going to talk about it. A reminder, we're not broken. We are evolving. We're not lost. We are recalibrating, and we are not alone. We are moving together into a new field of consciousness. This is not just a new year, it's an initiation into something. This astrology, by the way, often happens that the astrology has set the stage for my guest. It couldn't be more appropriate. I've got the lovely Regina Leffers on my guest today, Ph.D. She's a philosopher, a meditation teacher, a retired professor from Purdue University, where she served as director of the Center of Excellence for the Built Environment, and professor of sustainable construction. She has undergraduate degrees in psychology and philosophy and a PhD in philosophy. Regina brings a rare blend of academic rigor and lived spiritual practice to the study of human consciousness. She has maintained a daily meditation practice for, I think, over 45 years, and she teaches classes on meditation and consciousness. Her latest book, This is Consciousness, offers a clear, practical, and accessible map of how human consciousness develops and how understanding it may help both individuals and society. Regina wrote this latest book in response to what she sees as one of the great crises of our time, our inability to speak civilly, listen deeply, and navigate differences without fear, reactivity, or polarization. Regina, I'm so excited to have you on my show today. Please come on in.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm excited to be on your show today.
I swear to goodness, the stars aligned and set the stage for you, because I was going through that. I was like, oh my goodness, all of that Chiron stuff and even the Capricorn stuff, really has a lot to do with what's going on in the world right now. And I'm kind of trying to figure out, I just really kind of want to launch in, but I want you to tell us. I sort of said there at the end what I got out of your bio as to why you wrote this book, but why did you write this book? What brought it about?
So the realization that people don't know, human beings don't know about their own consciousness. And it's like our operating system, just like a computer has an operating system, we do too. And people don't know about it. I think the most important thing is that people get married to their thoughts, and they don't realize that what they think actually is an expression of the facet of consciousness that they live inside of and from, and that they can expand their consciousness, and that thought will change to reflect it.
I want to read a little something here from your book. Let me find it real quick, because I'm kind of doing this off of I'm inspired to do it, so I'm going to do it. Let's see, where is it at? And of course, hang on, everybody. Loretta didn't have it tagged. It's back further than I thought. It's right at the very beginning. So for my listeners, I want to remind everybody that I'm not here to be a political platform, but because our world has been so politicized, right? And we're so divisionary, that I'm just going to bring that on, that, and I'm setting my intention and clarity at the beginning, that you know, both Regina and I think are on the same sheet of music here, where the idea is to try to help us understand ourselves a little better and to get through this life. And what do we do in a world of such extreme division? At the beginning of your book, I'm just going to read from, I'm on page 6 here, very shortly. After the 2016 election, I realized that many people did not understand how critical it is for the President of the United States to be living from within a facet of consciousness that is expansive enough to govern the diverse population. And because of that, I wrote What is Consciousness, which is a precursor to your current book. Later on, down the page, you go, and after the 2024 US election, I caught myself othering people. And the action of othering eliminates the possibility for dialogue, because before it can ever begin, the activity of othering was a direct reflection of the behavior that was and is continuous at every level of our society. That, to me, that's like the first page of your book, so grabbed me, because this is exactly what's going on. Talk about othering, and then from there, I want to go into the facets of consciousness and how you're talking about consciousness. And I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, and now I'm going to let you do a lot of talking. I really think this is one of the most important little books people could read. I really do, because I have these conversations repeatedly with people as to what is going on that we cannot talk to each other. So let's go back a little bit. Please talk to me about othering, and yeah, and then go from there. Whatever it was that got inspired within you with all my talking.
You know, I really just want to say, before I start talking about othering, what a pleasure it is to speak with someone who's read the book and loves it and understands the purpose. I really appreciate that, Loretta. I also appreciate the conversation, that we're in conversation. So
Yes.
Thank you for talking.
Absolutely.
So othering is where we think about somebody else with an extreme judginess inside. And actually, I'm going to confess that what I found myself thinking was, the people who voted for Trump are just stupid. I'm sorry, but that's what I found myself thinking. And then I realized that I was in the middle of this thing, othering,
Yes.
that prevented conversations from even being able to begin. Because why would I want to talk with a stupid person? They can't understand. Okay, so that's
well, and let me interject this one sentence, because I have, as a spiritual counselor, for, you know, I work with everybody from the far left to the far right. I don't actually ask people what's your political affiliation. We're working on spiritual. Well, part of this conversation stems out of the idea that, just as you were like, these people are stupid, the people on the other side are going, those people are stupid. And
exactly.
So both sides are polarized with othering. And you're stupid. No, you're stupid. No, you're stupider than me. No, you're more stupid. So please go from there. I had to throw that in there. Thank you.
That is exactly where we find ourselves in the United States, and really all over the world. It's happening.
Yeah.
This othering. And I thought to myself, I need to remove that from me, because does not contribute to the solution. Okay, so I started to think about, I actually decided I wanted to, on purpose, change what I was thinking, because it doesn't do any good.
I'm sorry. I love that so much. That's your $1 million t-shirt. Anyway, please continue. I'm sorry. I'm so giggly with you this morning. I think my heart's just happy. Anyway.
Me too. So what happened was, I invited people at the church that I attend, I invited people from a place called Sophia's Portico, and just threw the invitation out there to people to come and investigate or think through with me what curiosity and forgiveness would look like inside of each facet of consciousness. And I thought that's going to be hard enough of a problem for me to work on, that it'll come into my brain and take over. Okay. And it did. I had 30 to 50 people every week who met with me, and we really did think through what curiosity and judginess, forgiveness, and gratitude look like from inside of each facet of consciousness. And we met every Monday afternoon from January through May. And really, everybody was really glad to have their thoughts changed to something else, because and it was, as you say, from, I think most of the people in the room who came were probably left and somewhat left of center. And then there were some people who were right of center.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting exercise, and it helped all of us.
You know, you're talking to to me as well as everybody, but to the truth of it, that, you know, change has to occur on the inside of self. And, you know, when all of these external things have happened, a lot of things in the political realm, myself included, like I find myself getting so right. And I know you're you've meditated for 40 years. I have 45 years. I meditate. I you know, my joke is, about the time I think I'm all that in a bag of chips, I discover I'm not, right? And this was a big wake up thing where, okay, so if we're in our home meditating and we're like, and I'm singing my happy, doing my mantra work, and I'm all happy, and then I go out and I'm like, right? It's like there's a disconnect here somewhere, you know, Regina, something, you know, and that's it, right? So for you to be able to meet with these people and really discuss these facets, which you're going to share with us in a moment, where do I think it brings it back home to ourselves? Like, what am I doing? What am I becoming? What I abhor? Am I becoming the hateful, bitter person? I thought I was better than that, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. All that in a bag of chips. No. I love that.
Thank you. I have funny things that I do with myself, like, and I talk with my clients about all the time, like, you know, can you look yourself in the eye in the morning and really see yourself, and can you love yourself? And I'm always like, I'm on to you, Missy. I know what you're doing, right? That's like, but it kind of helps a little bit, yeah. So this exploration of these facets of consciousness. In a moment, I would like you to share with us why do you, well, I'm going to ask you this question first. Why do you use the word facets instead of like stages of consciousness or levels of consciousness?
Yeah, after I wrote the entire book, and I wrote it as levels, and I wrote it because, in my opinion, the best possible explanation of our human consciousness was done, and it's called spiral dynamics. But I had to read it 5 times. And I mean, it is hard to understand. You can get a brief overview online, but 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 it was very difficult to understand. I also did not feel myself as a girl or woman being displayed in each level, quote, level of consciousness, which is what they use. I think that if you bring the perspective that life is messy and it is not hierarchical, we don't climb a ladder. And as you say, think at the top of the ladder that we're all that in a bag of chips. That's not what happens. What happens is that life is messy and that we grow more like expanding. So if we think of the facets of consciousness as roughly sort of how we grow from one perspective to another, from one state of being, even internally, to another. If we think of it that way, we expand. We don't climb a ladder. And, you know, we live in a very patriarchal culture, and it's been patriarchal for eons, right? And that's something that I think doesn't automatically occur to men who would write something like this, because they're the privileged character in a patriarchal culture. Yeah. And they've been that for a long time. You know, it's subliminal.
Yes.
A lot of it. So one of the reasons I wanted to find another way to express and describe consciousness is because it includes women and girls, as we need to include all of us, because we are all human beings. Each facet of consciousness needs to reflect human beings. And so that's where facet came from. It expresses, I think, a little better that we can be growing and really all that in a bag of chips on top of everything in one area of life. And in another area of life, we can be stuck in the mud someplace. So the idea is that we expand in different areas of life. We grow in consciousness in different areas of life at different times. And the more conscious we can be of that process and what's ahead and where we are, the better able we'll be to go ahead and grow ourselves out of the stuck places, which are painful.
I love what you're saying, because you're absolutely right. Like, everything has been very patriarchal, achieving. It's the ladder, the bar of perfection. You haven't arrived until you've arrived. And so you're always striving and striving. But this idea of growth, you know, for me is exactly what you said, because we're moving into the feminine, you know, which is circular, right? She's spiraling, as opposed to the masculine, which is like direct, and we're just going to go do that thing. And also, I just want to say this, because you've really hit something on the head. Like, I feel like I got light bulbs going off in my head while we're talking, which is probably real. A few years back, I had a woman come to me who wanted me to teach her how to meditate, and her significant other had sent her because he was a deep meditator and was into all of these ancient practices, you know, from East India, very ancient practices. And this is not to take away from those practices, but she was having trouble connecting with them because they're so masculine in nature. And I had to sit with my guidance and my wisdom and adjust some things. And it kind of led into a whole bunch of stuff that I do with women. But this idea that we're in a time where this sort of wisdom needs to come up, and you're absolutely right, to be able to find yourself in those facets of consciousness absolutely, you couldn't be more spot on. And that alone thrills me about your book. And I definitely found myself in those levels of consciousness. And I also want to say this, because I know spiral dynamics, I'm sorry, yes, difficult, but we're going to take a little station break. When we come back, I want you to share with the audience what the facets are that you've come up with. And like I say, I'm going to say it again, just go order the book during the break. Just go get it. It's on Amazon and all those places. This is Consciousness by Regina Leffers, Ph.D. It's not a great big, I'm sorry, I've got all the dog-eared pages. It's not very long, but it's very to the point. And I think it's going to help anybody reading it understand themselves better, and also understand why we're having so much difficulty talking to each other right now, because we're at different levels of consciousness. And I'm going to say this, then we'll take a break. Maybe we could become more conscious of the levels of our consciousness, Regina.
That would be wonderful.
I'm just anyway, I'll walk myself out now. We're going to take a little station break. My lovely guest, Regina Leffers, PhD. This is Consciousness is the name of her book. And I'm the original Loretta Brown. We'll be right back.
All right, all clear.
Do you have something important to say? Want to help improve our world? Need to promote your business uniquely and effectively? KKNW is the answer. Our staff helps broadcasters and podcasters create professional sounding audio. Bring your talent and let our experts help you craft a radio show or podcast that best delivers your message. Learn more at 1150kknw.com. That's 1150kknw.com. KKNW, variety talk radio that's live and local.
Energy is powerful. It's all around us, mysterious, full of potential. Directing positive, healing energy to raise your vibrational rate through Reiki can change your life. Reiki Master Loretta Brown has relieved stress, sadness, anger, and even helped clients lose weight, stop smoking, and end sleep disorders. Worldwide, people have sought out Reiki Oasis. If you want help with your dis-ease, visit ReikiOasis.com. Harness life's energy. Visit ReikiOasis.com today.
Everyone needs to take care of their mental health, even running back Bijan Robinson.
When I'm on the field and feeling the pressure, I usually just take a deep breath. When I'm just breathing and seeing what's in front of me, everything just slows down. It just makes me feel great before I run the play.
Just like Bijan, we all need a strong mental game on and off the field. Make a game plan for your mental health at georgia.loveyourmindtoday.org.
Love your mind.
Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and the Ad Council.
No other station delivers this much variety. Alternative Talk 1150.
You ladies all set to come back? All right, stand by.
Welcome back to the original Loretta Brown Show with my guest, Regina Leffers, PhD. Her book is This is Consciousness. Just go get it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. It'll be a good thing. A reminder that these shows are archived or recorded. You can go to the archives for KKNW 1150 AM, the original Loretta Brown Show, and listen to the show over and over. And of course, there's years and years and years of radio shows and good guests and help. We're also on YouTube, X, Megaphone, iTunes, Podcast One, Spotify. I'm sure I've left somebody out, but we're all over the place. So please go check it out and listen to it again. We are having a fascinating conversation around consciousness. Regina, could you please share with us briefly the stages of consciousness or the facets of consciousness?
Yes. So the facets of consciousness move from being least expanded in our perspective to greatest, most expansive. The first one I call survival, and it's where we learn the tasks that are needed to keep us alive. Okay. And some people continue to live in survival for a lifetime, for different reasons. Refugees, somebody who is a refugee would be living from that survival. Second facet of consciousness is I call belong, but it's a very small experience of belong. It's the belonging. We learn to belong to larger and larger, but in belong, we also learn how to exclude. So the shadow side of belong is where we look at somebody who is maybe the opposite political party and think they're not part of me. And that's part of what's going on in society. Lots of people are living from the very second, one of the smallest facets of consciousness. Third facet is called individuate, and it's just where we learn to separate ourselves from the people who raised us and be an independent person. And we do that in all kinds of ways. Okay. But I just want to bring the idea in too that we also need to individuate from people we get married to, or ideas that we get married to. In a very real way, we commit to an ideal or an idea, and then when it's too small, we have to grow out of that. Okay, so we individuate from people. Most when we're teenagers, we go through it in a real big way, from our parents. But all of our lives, we'll find ourselves needing to individuate from people and things. And then the next one is I call comply. And it's comply because it's where we learn the rules of society, how we're supposed to live. And when we move into comply from individuate, we really want to learn those rules. It's pretty rare when there's a teenager who doesn't want to learn to drive, learn the rules of the road, get keys to their own car, and many of us, the ideas are established there about what we're supposed to do in life. Okay. We move out of comply into the next facet of consciousness when something that society that we've learned in our culture to value no longer fits, or we realize, oh, that rule really does not apply to me. And very reasonably, you can understand somebody who is gay or lesbian or trans will move into the next facet of consciousness in that area of their life quickly, because you can't stay when you just don't fit at all. Yeah. Okay, so risk and re-individuate then is the name of the fifth facet of consciousness. The sixth facet of consciousness I call care and empathy. Care is where all of our social programs come from. It's where most all social workers live from. It's where just Medicare and Social Security and all of the beautiful programs that help us in life come from. It's where people really start to think about the larger group of anything. So caring about the environment, not just about my yard. caring about all people, not just my family or my culture or my religion or my political party. It's caring about everybody. So it's a fairly expansive facet of consciousness. Okay, we include much of what exists. Then I think of the next facet of consciousness, the seventh, as it is the seventh facet of consciousness is also another way of being. Okay, you have to kind of go over a bridge, and I think of it as the ego's been mostly in charge in those first 6 facets of consciousness. When you move into the seventh facet of consciousness, you value nearly everything. You value everything that you've learned along the way. So you value the people who are in every facet of consciousness. You also realize what I experienced is that you realize that connectivity, the idea that everything is connected, is not just an idea. It's not just an intellectual thing that you come to. It is an actual, it's an actual way that life is expressed. It is all connected. And it's mostly a matter of moving our awareness to that. So that's the seventh facet of consciousness, to live authentically or as your foundational self. The eighth facet of consciousness, I think of the Buddhist idea of interbeing. It's be oneness. And we have moments. I think everyone in the world has had a moment or moments in their lives where they've experienced this moment where they feel oneness of everything that is, and it's usually happens in grand nature, huge nature, redwoods, at the ocean, at the Grand Canyon, on the edge of anything magnificent, watching the sun go down or go up, when you're really totally present in the moment. Those are times when I think people will recognize, yeah, I felt that. So be oneness is something that we get glimpses of, but there are actual people who live from that. And some of them are very ordinary. We'll recognize even some friends. The Dalai Lama is a good example of someone who lives all the time from interbeing or be oneness. The one quality, and I think it's probably the dominant quality, is that someone who's living from that facet feels joy, real joy, not happiness, but just joy at the base of their being all the time. And they also, at the same time, feel the pain of the world. So neither is excluded. They feel both. And they make a huge difference in our world and in our lives by doing that. And then the ninth facet of consciousness, I really do love to think about people all over the world living quietly, tending their gardens, but living from this ninth facet of consciousness. It's called be creation. And I think there are, of course, the Buddha. We know that the Buddha lived at that facet. Jesus Christ are good examples that we know of because they've been written about. So, and actual structures of society have been you know, built around them. But there have been others, and there are others who live from this facet. And I think most of us do, in, again, moments of time. Just, a moment of time when we see, feel, hear, this is what I really am.
Yeah.
And then it gets expressed like that. I'm not sure how to say it differently right now, but yeah.
Like I said, I think having an understanding of these 9 levels of consciousness, or facets of consciousness, I fell into the levels. Like I said, is important, because if I take a look at, like, okay, if I'm at the facet of be creation, and then I'm in the presence of someone who is in survival, we're kind of like, right, not talking the same language. And I often find myself, and catching myself, because I'll be like, you don't understand how people don't understand this connectedness of all that is. Like, I think you experienced this too. I think you wrote about it in your book, and I resonated with it. I will what I call blend with everything. I just sort of am all that is, and then I have to pull myself back in. And I'm real good with boundaries, because I'm a strong empath. I've had to learn to do that. But then I also look at people, and I sometimes wonder, how do they exist within such a tiny little space? How do they do that, Regina? How do they do that? And it sounds, I don't know, superior or ego or judgmental or comparative or something. It's just, for me, observational. It's like, oh, okay, it's observational. So in this work that you've put out, this idea of, here we have these different facets of consciousness. We're in a state of evolving and growing. We're in different phases, because the other part I was thinking about is the growth of a child, individuating. No, I do.
I do it myself.
No, I do it. My shoes are on the wrong foot. Leave them alone, right? In our society right now, what facet do you think is predominant? What's causing the greatest problem here?
So can I just say,
yes,
as a beginning to the answer to that question, that's why I wrote a brief description of what love and fear look like at the beginning of each chapter, because I feel like the brains behind the administration that's happening right now in the United States understands that if they can create enough fear, that people will click into really the facets of consciousness that would allow them to be controlled. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it has people who are reacting in fear are thrown back into the first, second, and third facets of consciousness. Very easy to control.
Yeah.
People who are living there. I can say this too, Loretta, the living at that facet, one of those facets of consciousness, is painful.
Yes.
It's painful. And I'm using pain loosely.
Yes.
So if somebody finds that they're angry, chances are really good that's a pain of a certain kind. You don't want to really be angry, right? It doesn't help anything, and it does not, it's an appropriate response sometimes, but you have to get out of it. You have to release yourself from that anger and find your way through it. And when we just sit inside of it, when it just sits inside of us, that's painful. So fear and anger are painful, and that's what people are feeling a lot of right now.
Well, and you bring up a good point. Like, you do bring out what is the love and what is the fear of each side of facets of these consciousness. But I've had a lot of clients come to me who say, I feel like I'm being shoved back into a box, or I feel like my voice is being shut down. And yes, to what you said. So when you were talking about the level of comply and you were telling us about that right now, you brought up the example of, for instance, a gay person who realizes I don't fit into this box. And so I have to go to the next level, which is re-individuate and risk. By the way, I want everyone to know I'm looking down a lot because I'm looking in Regina's book where she carefully has these all laid out, because I was like, I want to know what they are, right? But when we move from one facet to another, and you kind of said this, we can get stuck in a facet, I think, through fear, or through you must do this. Like this is the programming and conditioning of our parents and our generations and our ancestors in society. I mean, the whole thing going on. And then, like you said, being stirred up into a state of chaos. Yeah. We don't know where to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are always things we can do. Yeah.
So we're, I can tell we're not going to have time to delve in as deeply into this as I'd like to, but I hope we're creating some curiosity in people for them to explore themselves and each other, and also to have these conversations, right? To really
Right.
have these conversations. What is something that, how do I say this? When people discover that they are stuck in a facet, or that they, like my clients have been saying, I felt like I was making some sort of growth, and now I feel like I got to go back. I can't, no growing. What is something people can do? What is a helpful exercise or idea, or how should they approach that?
So if I ever feel stuck, one of the first thing I do is place my tongue on the floor of my mouth and close my eyes and feel my body relax, because that action will quiet the vagus nerve. Okay. And then with closed eyes, um, imagining the space inside of the body, and then really imagining that space inside of the body, and then moving the awareness of the space inside of the body behind the eyes, so in the middle of the brain. And what happens is that moves your brainwave from beta to alpha a little slower. And in alpha, you have access to forgiveness, and you have access to gratitude. You don't have access to either one of those from any other facet of or from any other brainwave. This is where those two things happen. And alpha, you don't have it. It moves you. Beta is where you can have thoughts that are repeating. They can keep creating the same life over and over again. Okay, because the thoughts stay the same. If we just move our brainwave to alpha, what happens is we begin to see creative solutions to old problems. Things don't get solved in the same way.
Yeah.
And that we can bring ourselves back to who we actually are.
So for the listener, that little meditation is on page 29 in her book. And I already tagged it, right? Because I went, oh, this is good. This is a good one. We are out of time, believe it or not, Regina. That was ridiculously short. In the last 30 seconds or so, could you please tell people where to find you, and also just the final, very short little message that you really want people to hear today.
I would really like people to pay attention to which facet of consciousness they're operating from. So to really go ahead and read this book and identify where you are so that you can move yourself, expand yourself out of pain, and into a different mindset, different thought form. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the most important thing that I would have to say. You can find me at my name, reginaleffers.com. And you can find This is Consciousness on Amazon.
Thank you so much. Regina Leffers, what a joy and a delight. Thank you for coming on. And to all the listeners, enjoy yourself, enjoy that new moon in Capricorn, and woohoo, go Hawks.